I'm sorry I'm a minute late because I was doing something like 3 minutes of movement to shake it all
I
up
love
before I
them.
got
I
here,
love
which
them.
I thought, oh, that's a little like what Reed talks about.
You're channeling me? No, no, I'm teasing. I'm teasing.
Sorry, say again.
You're channeling you're making my heart warm here. So
Oh, good.
nice.
Oh, good. Yeah. I mean,
I'm
it's
doing
something
it
that I
too.
do
Like,
before I get on kind of every week. And then because I'm thinking of you and was just reading your posts about like, do you really not have 5 minutes to move your body every day? And one, could always use more, but two, I've learned how much it does for my spirit to show up
it,
as my best self. So it
it
isn't
does.
just a chore, I really feel it. I feel it, the difference instantly. So,
Oh, awesome. See, that's the cherry on top of the frosting that just happened for me because I don't I don't do a lot of this. I'm one to one and I always know who like I'm not
right.
out there with people I can't see.
Yeah.
And so it was a little bit, excuse me, a little bit woo, but the reel that came up right when I opened my phone and put on Instagram, it was David Bowie talking his advice to young artists. It's probably all going viral right now, but about always do something that's a little bit out of your depth. And he had these lovely words about if your feet can't touch the bottom of the pool. And right before that,
Uh,
right before I came downstairs, I had David Bowie and Queen singing Under Pressure, and then it was David Bowie again, and I was like, coincidence? I don't know. I don't know.
no, no. Thank you. Download exactly what you needed to come here, right?
Exactly what I needed to hear right before. So anyway, it's great to see you.
I am more a believer in magic like that than I ever have been. And so, I mean, I've always been a person where I'm a little like, well, nothing really surprises me, but the doors are just sort of flinging open wide more and more often, like this, right? Just saying, like,
Mm,
there's evidence everywhere if you look for it that
yeah,
you're supported. We're supported for what we need in every moment, even. I
I
mean,
think you're right. I think you're right. And we're kind of trained from childhood not to see it. Well, not everybody, but a lot,
the
many
massive
people.
gnosis is what I
Yeah.
call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. I mean, I'm saying all of this because this is what I need to hear, right? I know it, and yet it's something I need to keep telling myself and, of course, offering to everyone who will listen. It's like I really want it to be true, and I've seen it to be true, but yet, I mean, really, I was just writing my weekly email to say the hard part is there's no guarantee,
Oh,
on like result, but all we can do is keep showing up in our truth.
yeah. I mean, I want to say this with great love and respect for both my
Okay.
parents because they're both teachers, they're both academics.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that and they great teachers, both of them in different ways, but there's always a grade at the end when you're an academic. And so it's really hard
Mm,
to step away from that being the result. And as an
yeah.
adult, it's been really like part of my learning and my place is to have the result be the journey, to really like then and
Exactly.
not the grade at the end. And so
Yeah.
that's really hard for me to unlearn what I learned as a child, but also it's both, maybe it's both.
Yeah. Yeah, it is both. I know. I know. As soon as I say there's no guarantee, I can hear all the critic voices saying, well, there's no. What I mean is when we are going for a big dream, which I call everybody to do, right? Not just like, oh, how little can I get by on? The big dream, no one can say if A, then you'll definitely have it. Yet
Right.
we're both teachers, instructors, coaches offering what we have. You know what I mean? It's from our past, it's from our experience, and it's from our conviction. But I can't guarantee anything, which is a little scary, right? Because our world says kind of like make sales based on 3 easy steps, and you'll definitely get blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I mean, but what I can say and what you can say is like moving will make you feel better. I mean,
It
in
is. Moving
simple,
towards
right?
the goal. Yep. Anything, any kind of movement. Almost any kind of movement, even moving away from something you don't like
Yeah.
feels
Yeah.
better.
And that's the truth of what I think I can say too is what I offer will make you feel better. I can't guarantee the dollars, like X movement will get you X dollar, big dream.
Yeah.
But again, the journey, right? If the journey is what just today, what we have right now, and like the next half hour, you and me, right? Like this is all part of it.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
It's good. It's lucky. It's good. And then how many people I know myself, how many times have you been like, this is my big dream, and then you get it, or you get close, or you're halfway there and you're like, this is not at all my big dream.
Yes.
Wrong
Yes.
turn.
Yes. You look around and you're like, how did I get to this place? Or even you get it. I mean, I've been seeing this lately too, where people are like getting lots of really like the outward results that they wanted, and yet they're inside not happy, feeling burnt out, and how, the way they called themselves to be that person that did that doesn't
Right.
feel good. So
Yeah.
both, interestingly, it like
Yeah.
they really have to line up, which is simple truth and complex.
Yeah. Yeah. There, I mean, it's really odd as I get older. It's like when you're little, goals are sometimes put on you, or there are things you want, like you want to be Michael Jordan, or you want to be, Oscar-winning actress. You want these things that aren't maybe realistic at all. And so, how do you know what's right for you? I mean, I have friends that I have one friend that um, always knew they wanted to be a veterinarian, is a great veterinarian.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at that person with like, how did you know? Did it like it just
Mm-hmm.
always have known? And then I think the rest of us, most of us, are like, we have no idea. We don't know.
Yeah. But
How do you
every
figure out
moment, right? You
Yeah,
just try to get one more step.
yeah. One more
Amazing.
step.
So this is what we're here to discuss really week after week is these conversations, these stories of how we followed step by step to become the me of today and the you of today. So welcome, Rie Langdon.
Thank you. Thank
Meet
you for inviting me.
everyone, meet Rie Langdon. And and I loved that you call yourself a Pilates magician because I can imagine how my experience this year has been availing myself to a lot of different health treatment modalities, and kind of every different one is some kind of magic because of how much our bodies are telling us. Like really, everything is in the body. All the truths are in the body in ways that I had no idea. So,
Yes.
well, you're welcome to riff on that. But
Oh, okay.
uh,
Yeah. I think there's something you said. It might be a few podcasts ago now, but um, one of your childhood experiences in relation to your parents was you felt like a brain on a stick.
yes,
And that totally, that was like bingo. I know exactly how that feels. The academic
yes.
parents and being on a sick, and it was all about what's in your head and what are you thinking and being logical and great,
What can you
great.
prove? Yeah,
Yeah, and feelings, maybe, feelings are, everyone has them, but they're, in terms of importance, it's like, what do you think instead of how do you feel?
yeah,
Circle around, all of the stuff that happens in your body, right?
yes.
There's a very famous book. His name is Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, and it's The Body Keeps the Score. And
Oh, yeah,
it, yeah, I mean, if you've read any of his work, and some of his work is very out there too, like the things that happen to you when you're 3, you get memorized as feeling these things in your body, and that will impact you as an adult for reasons you don't understand. Sometimes you can go back that far, and sometimes you can't. But the body knows it. There's a lot of wisdom in there that has nothing to do with the thoughts that you're thinking, the sentences that you're thinking in your head. And we are all so busy and so driven, and got to get here, got to pick up milk on the way home, and there's so much
mhm,
stuff going on in your head that it makes it really hard to hear or feel what your body's telling you.
Yeah.
just even in terms of, does this feel good? Does this feel bad? What adjustment could I make to improve? Like little things like that. And so that's part of the magic that I think I bring, is that I can help a person get to, I feel better in 55 minutes. And here are some things that you can do at home to feel better in 5 minutes. And
Hmm.
when you feel better in your body, you do better in your life, right? Stronger
Yeah.
body, better life, just feeling better, being able to connect to that better feeling. You're going to be
Yeah.
nicer to your kids. You're going to be more patient with
Hmm.
whoever. You're going to,
Hmm.
at the end of the day, maybe your checklist is twice as long, but you're like, I did good. You have that moment.
Well,
So
it's so interesting. Yeah, just this balance of like kind of all the voices is hard because self-care says one thing and I don't know, maybe academic brain on stick says you got to do both and or you got to do these things and somehow you can't just add more to the days, right? To the list. Um, so that's the trick to prioritize out of self-love. And
that's the hard part. Prioritize according to what the business, your boss needs, or prioritize according to, what happened last time, right? But prioritizing out of, that's genius. I just want to take a look. I don't even have a post-it note over here. We need to run and get a post-it note so I can write that down. But prioritizing out of self-love is really, really hard.
it's really, really hard. Yeah, it's really hard. It reminds me of being a child of the 70s, a woman born in the 70s, where there was all this women's lib, a certain kind of feminism rising up. But really, it wasn't like it was the and message, not the prioritize yourself. It was the you can have it all by being everything. And
Right.
really, now today years old, I'm like, that wasn't the whole thing. Like it was like, oh, look here, hold more, women, you know, like have both standards of having a perfect family and uh, earning the ideal income and status in work, outside the home. It's
Yeah. And I think, I'm just, I'm, I guess, a child not born in the 70s, but I grew up, I was 10 in that era. And
yeah,
I remember thinking, how you can have it all. The things that were, I think that message, and I don't know, I think that message got a little skewed in the delivery or the translation, or just how we're looking back on it. I think the original message might have been something more like, you should want it all, instead of
yeah,
you can have it all. We were earlier than that, we were being taught to want things that we weren't necessarily taught to before.
yeah,
Like, there's you were kind of going to college to find a husband, which I laugh to say now because it's so antiquated. But anyway, I'm going to say it.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, in
No, it
my
was like explicitly said in
yeah,
earlier days. And then
right,
even when they stopped saying it out loud, it doesn't just disappear, right?
right.
It's still sort of whispered in
There was
the,
this idea of, I'm going to do X until I have kids. It was like that. There was no, you know, my career because, I want to be a famous astronomer or any, it was like you were going to be great at it until you take priority. It was always that flavor. So, but I think the message did turn into, you can't have it all, and you can't drop any of the balls, right? Whatever the balls are, you have to just be a better, faster
yeah,
juggler, and that is just toxic. Toxic. It's toxic. It's awful.
toxic,
Mhm. So
toxic. And I mean, yeah, in different ways, decades later, the message is still talking. And I think both of us are in our different zones calling people out of that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the other thing, I totally agree. I think that the thing that happened with that message is, as long as you can have it all, as long as you don't drop any of the traditional balls that you still have. It
Yeah,
just totally takes away, instead of it becoming a bigger choice in the world, now you
yeah,
have more choice in the world. You have less choice because you can only choose things that fit with the things you can't drop.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it becomes a very tight box that
Exactly.
I,
Exactly.
I am I'm trying to reject gently and politely as much of that as I can.
Or fuck polite. I mean, is the other part.
Right. Maybe not so politely.
Maybe
Maybe
not so
quietly.
politely, enough to sort of shake us all out of our hypnosis is kind of the metaphor I use. The way
Yeah.
we've accepted other people's truths that weren't always for us.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And the other part of it that I am trying really hard to embrace and just get to this place as fast as possible is I'm gonna draw a blank on her name. I'm so embarrassed because I love her, but it's Brooke from the Life Coach School. What is her name? If you remember her name. But anyway,
Yeah.
Brooke, one of her things she says is because I want to. Is like that's all the reason because I want to. And when I
Nice.
heard that, I was like, that sounds like when you were a little girl. Because I want because I want to, and somehow that gets the message is that's not the good enough reason, or you might think it in your head, but don't say that out loud. There comes a point where,
Well, and some of us are more allowed to say that in our society than others, right?
yeah, and exactly. There, you have to be careful when you say that. You can't just say that, and there might be. I just always think that sentence may be in my head, and then think very quickly about consequences. Is it safe to say that? And
Exactly.
now this old, I'm like, I'm gonna say that. I'm trying to say that every day. I'm trying to find a space for me to say that every day and work that muscle just like any other muscle because I want to,
Yes.
whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Which
So.
is back to, I think, back to the journey is really all we have, right? Today, choosing because I want to toward the thing that we want big dream wise. Yet
Mhm.
the journey is the thing. That's all we've got.
Right.
Yeah.
It is. It is. I think this is a fun question. I ask myself this every time I get on the plane, and they always say, if you're traveling with small children, make sure to put your own mask on first. That's the advice we always get. Put your own
Of
mask on
course.
first. And
Yeah.
then in daily behavior, how much do we model that behavior? Not all.
Mm,
That's part of the struggle, right? If you were on the
mhm.
airplane, God forbid, and it was actually the things come down from the ceiling, would you actually put your own mask on first? Would it
Yeah.
be like in that moment, would it just be super clear, this is the thing I need to do? Or would you still wonder, who else should I get their mask on first?
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't even maybe have the reflective
Hopefully not.
muscle to ask. You would react how you react, right? You'd be like, someone needs me. And that muscle would talk first, right? And meanwhile, you're on your way to help them and you're like out of your own oxygen, which yeah, it's I do think it's like putting in your reps, right? Of like you become that person ready to choose self-care in
I
that
like that.
moment
I like
for the
that.
purpose of other care.
I like that.
Yeah. So this is a great time to hear how you chose to start your business. So if you could just share that story, because I think all of these stories of people starting their own businesses what was a way to put on your own oxygen mask
It
so you
was.
could help others.
It absolutely was. So I used to be an engineer, software engineering manager, my whole career, and worked in spam defense. I used to run a team that kept tried to keep spam the best we could out of people's inboxes, and
Thank
just
you
making the world
for your service.
one small way to make the world a slightly better place, slightly less obnoxious place. And then when I left that job, I had already been doing part-time Pilates instruction for a long time because I love it. I've always loved it since the moment I found it. And if you're really into a practice, at some point you go to the teacher trainings because that's where you learn the more advanced work. They so I started taking the teacher trainings just so I could progress my own practice. And coming from two teachers, it was really quick to figure out that I love teaching. And so, in short order, I never meant for this to be like a second career and all of that, but I could show you the Pilates equipment started piling up around my house, and
Interesting. You invested in it for yourself first.
I did, and I really wanted to get better at it. I have an injury that I got when I was 5 that Pilates is the only thing. I've had a very misaligned pelvis, and so it was the only thing that helped. And so to be able to, you do this over time, and you could see increases and things you didn't used to be able to do, you can do, and the things that you used to be able to do a little wobbly, you can now do it a lot better. And one of the very cool things about Pilates is the same exercise that you learn on your very first day, it becomes different over time as you get stronger in different places. So the
Mm,
work gets deeper and deeper, and it's just as much a mental challenge as it is the physical challenge, right? That's the other thing I really like about it. So there's no moment of zoning out. That used to be the 1 hour a day or the 30 minutes a day where I was not thinking about anything else except concentrating on trying to get, whatever to happen, this muscle fire, not fall, not fall out of a pose or something like that. And then after the teacher training, I just started part-time. And when I left tech, it was like, okay, I'm all in. So I'm going to do this full time. And I didn't really have a plan, and I didn't really have I just knew there was a number that I needed to hit because, expenses.
life.
And it was a little rocky and a little dire those first 6 months. And then I think when I started, two things happened. I kind of got too tired to worry about it anymore, which is too busy, too tired to worry about it anymore. And then
Mm,
I got in a groove and was actually making enough to barely get by. And then I kind of took a breath and relaxed. So, and
mm.
then I just, after that, built the business and got better at a lot of things that I didn't used to have to do. Like I used to, actively avoid anything that looked like marketing because I was an engineer and I didn't have to, and
Right.
I loved being on sales calls, but I loved being on sales calls as an engineer. They're going to actually do the selling, and then I'm going to answer any like technical question or something like that, so I got
Right.
a very nice line where I was never in sales. And so I had to learn things. I had to learn, and I didn't like learning those things, believe me. But now came to a realization very late in the game that the reason I didn't like those was because I was still in my engineer identity where I didn't have to learn those things. The minute I'm like, oh, I'm a small business owner, I have to have a small business owner identity. Now that stuff is like super easy and exciting to me. It's part of my identity. It's not that I have to be. This is what small business owners do. So all the resistance to it is gone, and I'm enjoying that stuff a lot more and learning about it a lot faster too.
It's fascinating to me how you just told that story. Like it sounded very simple. I mean, maybe it wasn't, but that you just took the identity. You're like, oh, that's me now.
Yeah.
In some ways, that sounds like it wasn't a whole long swim. It was like, bing, a switch.
No, it was very like it felt very uphill, and I was very avoidant about a lot of stuff, and very, the self-talk that I suck at this, and
Yeah,
you know that you kind of talk yourself out of it,
yeah.
and even the things, the little automations that would make it easier. There's all sorts of tools out there to make your email go and do
Mm.
these things, and I would just resist it, and then I kind uh, kind of yell at myself in the spare moments about like,
Right.
God, you're an engineer. You could set that up in 10 minutes. If someone was paying
Mm.
you to set that up, you could do that in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was just like the resistance that I always had in the other place. And once that, I don't even know what it was, but I think it was a lot of uphill climb or a lot of, you know, deep swim. And then one day it just dawned on me that it was because I was in that other identity. And who spends their time thinking about their identity? Nobody. But it just, I don't know. It just all of a sudden light bulb went on, and I'm like,
The
oh,
light bulb went on, and the way you told the story, I just thought of how well we started this conversation about the magic of we get what we need
mhm.
for every moment, and the uphill climb, the resistance, something in you was like, Ree, let's make this easier. You know what I mean? Like, hey, there's a misalignment here. You say you want this, but this is not working. And somehow it was telling you, and then you listen to it, which sounds simple, yet to me, this is like a beautiful, like why we can trust ourselves and why if we make space to listen, that we have what we need. So this
Yeah,
is what I do as a coach, is like almost like I'm not giving you answers. I'm asking you questions and making a space for you
yeah,
to
yeah,
face them and say, like, why are you running? Can you stop running away and just ask yourself what you're running
right,
from?
right. No,
It's
those are big. The other thing that I when I manage people, or even something like your own children, I know from those experiences about motivating other people, right? It's so much harder to motivate yourself because you're inside, you're like the wizard behind the curtain. You're inside and you hear all the stuff, right?
yeah.
So if I have one child who is mildly afraid of heights, and I
Mm,
remember being at the Eiffel Tower, and on one of the levels, I'm going to get it all wrong, but on one of the levels they have it glass so you can look down,
right.
and I had forgotten that it was there. Do you know what I mean? But we get
Yeah.
up there, first of all, going in the Eiffel Tower, and it was, my
Right.
child was like, we're gonna do this. It's going to be an adventure. And so the reward is obviously, I'm not thrilled about being in that wacky elevator, but I'm going to get through this. And then we
Right.
get up to the floor with the glass floor, and it was just massively like, oh God, didn't prepare the child for it.
Mm,
Here we are. And so
mm,
it's going to sound awful. I made her go out onto the place where there's like a metal girder underneath,
right.
and sit right on top of the metal girder. And I took a picture, and I said, it's just going to be 2 seconds, but I'm going to take a picture of you doing this. Then we're going to come back over here right in the corner. And we did. And I said, no matter what happens now, I've got a picture of you facing that fear, and you're going to remember, like, you did it, even though you didn't like it. And next time you have a hard thing in your life, you're going to have this moment at the Eiffel Tower to be like, I can maybe get through this.
Oh my
So
God.
it's the
I
same
can
kind of same.
feel it. I can feel the power of that picture. I'm very visual, but that it's such a good metaphor. Thank you for sharing that. Who doesn't need to hear this? Who isn't facing something that feels like, I know I need to do this, but if I do that, I will surely die. Like some version of that, right? And
Whatever you're
to
using.
go anyway and find out that they're okay. We're
Yeah,
okay. And
yeah,
we have what we need. And actually, it isn't the way it looks, even though it's valid how we got there, yet the whole truth is bigger.
yeah, yeah. And it's
Woo!
it's it's good advice. They always say that the thing you're resisting, you should run toward, or the David Bowie thing from right when we were talking a little bit ago. Whatever is the thing that you're a little out of your depth, and it's such great advice and so hard to take. We'll spend so much energy resisting it, and it's literally like when you're a little kid going in the deep end. Just hold your nose and jump. You gotta, like, where did that energy go the minute we became adults and we stopped?
Hmm.
We started really, really protecting ourselves. I mean, I
Oh,
guess
yeah.
you get enough bumps, you're going to start protecting yourself. But wouldn't it be great if there was just some meter in your life? Google, make us a meter, like you protected yourself 48% today and you risked 52%, and you would just know, okay, I'm right in the zone. we
Yes.
Your cell phone
Yeah.
would tell you at the end of the night, take 3 more risks tomorrow and you'll be even.
That's such a good exercise. What good homework, right? To be like, um, you wake up and you say, how many risks can I take today?
Yeah,
How big can I go?
bitty ones.
And because it's retraining, right? Because the brain, the what I call the mod voice, the inner critic, is like no risk, right? Like nope, 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 not safe. Stay right here, in this
Yeah,
box.
yeah. And all the stuff we really want is probably outside that box.
Of course, which segues perfectly into my next question is what is your greatest joy in your business? Because that took, getting to this other side of the box.
Oh, that was always that's always been the part that was the easiest, is there's because it's like what we were talking about before, the body thing. When you can see, and I think that's part of my magic, is that I have some kind, I don't even know how to describe it. come from a science family, so this is gonna be so woo. Here I go. But it's like I have X-ray vision and I can
Magic,
look at somebody walk.
magic.
I know, but I can look at somebody walk and I don't need to know the name of the muscle, but I can see like it's a chain of events, and here's the one getting the most in the way. So you're always trying to find the one that's creating the most of the problem. You move that one out of the way, there will be another one. There will be another one. It's never perfect. It's not about perfect. But I can help somebody get more aligned and they just feel better. You know, and it's not like a massage. I've got a massage, you feel better afterwards, right? But it's like there's something about because you can move better through space and more confidently through space. I see people just, tired, but ready to take on, or just more at peace. I don't know. There's just a feeling that I can see on the outside when they leave, and I love that. I love that being able to not do it for someone, they do it for themselves, but making the space for them to be able to reach that. And that's the
Mhm.
coolest thing. Sometimes it's really hard, and sometimes we keep working on it for, a couple of sessions. I have a couple of clients with some, skeletal things going on that are just always going to be permanently there with them. And we,
Mm.
we figure out how to work around it and what to do on a daily basis to help them feel better. And just knowing that these little things can make a change and make somebody's day better, that's huge, right? That
It
that
is
was like
huge.
always the joy of being able to work with people. And the people are so delightful. I meet people that I would never otherwise meet with all these different experiences and all these different stories. And everyone is cool. I mean, that's the other
Yes.
thing. People surprise you in the most delightful ways. And
Yeah.
it's just I not to tell secrets, but I have a very, from the outside you would think of her as just a very classy, very, very together, polite, grandmotherly type who could outswear any of the Marines I've ever met. I mean,
Hmm.
it's amazing. It's amazing. And she's like, she has wild adventure stories from when she was in her 20s. And I'll say, I didn't think people did that back then. Back then, she'll be like, yeah, they didn't.
Well, that's why, I mean, what do I want to say? Like, I have long collected stories of people in their elder days who surprise me like that, that I could, can I be that person in, I mean, my version of that person, right? That boldness, that
Yeah.
joy, that freedom in the latter decades. Because
Yeah, and
it,
it's now too. I think that's the part I struggle with is like I have that image of, how I want to be then,
yeah,
but I just, it goes back to that because I want to, but right now too. The hard part is doing that right now, and I think that's how you get those very cool stories is by doing those things right now. So we'll see how
exactly.
I
It's, yeah,
do.
it's so crazy. Yeah. Isn't it crazy how like everything we're talking about is all leading to the same kind of stuff? It's the same
That's,
truth.
that's the
Oh,
perfect metaphor for Pilates. It's all connected.
okay.
So if somebody comes to me and they have one shoulder up, I'm looking at their ankle. I'm looking all the way down the chain to see, where is it? What's the thing that's making their shoulder up? It's not the shoulder. It's hardly ever the shoulder, right? And it is all connected. That's the one thing that's the most amazing thing I've learned about the human body is it's all connected. Something's bothering you in your pinky finger. There's
Yeah.
an answer for it somewhere else. So
Yeah. I love that you can see that. You see what to what the rest of us is unseen. To me
yeah,
is it's
yeah.
magic, and of course it's also science, and it doesn't matter that you can't explain every bit of it with the brain kind of language.
You
Brain
know.
language is great and limited. And I mean like academic bookish, what is traditionally called science. And everything else doesn't count. Like, no, there's everything counts. Everything, there's knowing even deeper than that. I love that.
Well, a
Yeah.
lot of those explanations, the scientific explanations, start with, we believe that. The sentence
Yeah.
will be, we believe that 1 + 1 = 2.
Right.
If we didn't believe that, right, the rest of it would fall apart. So I think it's about we're always trying to deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world around us, and we need science to do
Mhm.
that. It's my favorite thing. But we
Mhm.
need that just as much as we need art, right? And just as much as
Mm.
we need nature. And it's about, you know, getting a little bit from each of the food groups all the time. That's more
Mm.
what how I'm trying to build my life and fill myself up these days, is trying to just get a little bit of all the pieces, right? Maybe
Right.
not, but trying to be systematic about that instead of, you know, binging in one area and then being like, whoops, got to go over here now and try this. So
Mm.
doing a
Mhm.
little tiny bit of all of it all the time.
Whew. That's a challenge. I feel it. I'm with you, and I feel the challenge at the same time. And I think it goes back to what I said earlier, was it like it can sound like a longer list of to-dos instead of just a different way of being now and now and now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's a big unlearning, relearning, but so much freedom on the other side.
There is and the to-do list is not going to hug you back. You know, the 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 other thing I like about my to-do list is I have a million to-dos just like everybody else, but I try to keep that to-do list super, super short. Whatever it is. I mean, does it
Yeah.
really need to go on my list? I try and make things fight to be on my to-do list. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting better and better at that, right?
Yeah.
The it's that to-do list starts, for me, maybe I should just speak for myself, but that to-do list starts to own me if it gets too big. And I
Mm-hmm.
start to have judgment about, like, you're not getting anything done, and you know,
Yeah.
you're not, you're not doing, like however long that to-do list gets, it can weigh on me. So I like to keep it really, really short.
Yeah.
And that's been working better for me. Although I'm sure that a lot of things drop through the cracks that maybe didn't used to, I feel better. So
Mm-hmm.
we ran out
Mm-hmm.
of the kind of toothpaste. We're like, oh, well, sorry.
Turns out, turns out I'll survive that one.
Yeah, yeah, that didn't need to be on the to-do list.
At least not today's. Not yet. So I love to hear about business challenges too, because I want to support all of my guests and also just name that we all have business challenges, and that's okay. That's part of the swim, part of the grow, and the opportunity. So, would you mind
Yeah.
sharing some business challenge with us you're facing?
So my this last year has been complicated family wise. My dad passed away in April, and
Mm,
I
sorry.
mentioned this to you before, and we're doing okay, but there are times, there are moments where it's talking about math just this minute really, really hard, just because he was a math
Mm,
teacher. But the business challenge was also really lucky. I mean, I'm self-employed, so I could actually slow down nearly to a stop when I needed to. And my clients were very, very understanding and very supportive. And just be there for as many days as I needed to be. I taught Pilates from the lobby of the hospital that had this beautiful mural of a flower behind me. So that was kind of interesting. And people would be like, "Are you still at the hospital?" I'm like, "Yeah." So
mm,
I got, that worked out in some ways. And now I'm kind of sort of starting over, and so the good news is I've learned a lot of lessons along the way, and I'm not afraid to do marketing anymore. And, I'm not afraid to call people, and, that piece of it. And, all of the pieces that are very, it can be very scary when you're first in business and you don't know enough for the sale, and, it's those kinds of things. I know how to do those things, and I'm much more confident and feel much more comfortable with those things. But sometimes I'm just having to start over, and that's okay. I'll do better this time.
yeah.
But it's the challenge for me is to stop comparing myself with where I thought I'd be this year. Where
Mm,
I had specific goals, and I had specific ideas, and I had specific offerings I wanted to
mm,
do, and I'll still do it. It's just that was supposed to be done, and I was supposed to be moving on to the next thing, whatever that was going to be. So I guess for me right now, I'm trying to, it can be sometimes hard to stay in the moment, And
Right.
then the shifting nature of the business is also just because of the pandemic. I mean, everything has changed in terms of, the way things used to work, where you would go to work for someone else, and we couldn't do that during the pandemic. So right now I'm doing about I just opened up my physical studio again, which was very much delayed because of family circumstances. That
Mm-hmm.
just happened last week, and I'm
Mm.
getting people to come back in and teaching.
Congratulations.
Oh,
Celebrate.
yeah. But things have changed since the pandemic, and I will always probably do that hybrid model where I'm teaching some people on Zoom, and some
Yeah.
people are like, if I never see Zoom again, that will be okay. So figuring out how to run the business where it's not just one way, right? Just, I have to switch energy. It's not a problem. It's just, I'm learning how to do it. Switch energy from that in-person energy to back to, you know, being distant and trying to still give somebody a very satisfying, very tough workout that makes them feel better later. They're two totally different things. And then
Mhm.
where do I want to go? That's the other challenge is, okay, so now I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And how do I fit in really where I want to take this business, and what are the next big things I want to do? Because I have more than one big thing I want to do, and there's only so much time in the day. I think everybody has that problem, but figuring out how to get there in the shortest amount of steps, in the most reasonable amount of steps, and
That was
not
a lot
having
of things.
to.
That's a lot of things. If I could just reflect what I heard is a challenge is starting over in the reality of today, which is not where neither where you thought you'd be nor where you used to be
Yeah.
before. And then also something like prioritizing the dreams. Is that sort of one way
Yeah,
to say?
finding enough, carving out enough time, protecting that time to make that dream a reality, instead of being like, at the end of the day, I didn't do a single thing to move that forward. And so uh, that's a skill that I'm learning. And I
Mm,
and I think it's sort of interesting and funny for me, it's maybe my own laugh, but doing a project for someone else, if we had a launch date or we had a release date, that's a there are systems for that, and there's ways, it's kind of like how to get that done. When you're on your own, which I am for the short term, right? I know to hire fast and I know to hire early, but that's not where I am in my business at this moment.
right.
So, how do I do it and still make forward progress when it's just me? So that's and if you asked like what is the biggest challenge, it's probably that one, because the things I want to do are bigger than something I can do myself. And so I'm in
Mm-hmm.
this weird like limbo where I need to do this and I want to do that, and then figuring out how to do both.
So if I can offer sort of the thread through all of these things,
Absolutely.
I think it over and over is speaking to um, you having a meeting with your truest self, right? Of like the dream. What is the real dream and what is in the way of that? Because as you said, there's no wrong answer, right? All of them, all of the possible ways can lead to the dream.
Hmm.
And only you can pick and you get to pick, right? I always say privilege and responsibility
Hmm.
of having the vision. And um, something like when you said this, you were using the language of supposed to earlier, like I was supposed to.
Right.
I think underneath a lot of this is like there's no supposed to, right? Like that's a false, I don't know, it just doesn't exist is
It's
like
hard to
I
do
think
that.
the easiest way to say it. Not that
Totally
it
right.
isn't valid, these feelings about it, right? Because we're taught to um, judge ourselves so we
Yeah,
could be better. Do you know? I mean, and
I
it's
do.
those
Yeah.
are there's some, bits of it's
No,
a
because
sniff of
right back to
something
the academic
healthy.
being graded thing, like how are you doing?
Yeah.
The report card. So
The
yeah.
report card. And I think, again, all of that comes back to internal versus external validation.
Hmm.
You get to
Exactly.
do it because you want to, because I
Yep.
want to. And
Yep.
then what I hear is the barriers. I mean, tell me, what do you hear as the barriers to that? Or what do
No,
you feel?
I think it's more just that, and I hope I'm not the only one, but I'm just gonna say it. I think
Not the
it's
only
more just
one. I don't even know what you're
embarrassing.
going to say, but you're definitely not the only
I'm
one.
not the only one. Yeah. No, I think when it's unknown and uncertain, and you were saying it above this, where you can give the tools, but the outcome is not certain. And so when the outcome is not certain, there's there no there's
Fear.
fear, but it's like not a real fear. It's not a burning building. It's not a snake about to bite you. You know what I mean? So it's like those kinds of fear. It seems so obvious to have the natural reaction. If an animal is about to bite you, you're gonna move. It's like you know what to do. You know what to do to mitigate that fear. When it's one of these made up in your head,
I mean,
fears,
I
what's
think,
the
well,
what's the fighting response?
okay, so if it's not a snake bite, it's an imminent, tangible danger like that.
Mhm.
Um, okay, but what would you name this fear of the whatever is stopping you from
It doesn't
choosing or
really, it
knowing?
doesn't really stop me as much as it slows me down. And I
Slows
think
you down.
honestly, it's lighting something up for me to talk about it. It's just literally, I think because of the uncertainty, the brain kind of plays with it like a little ball, and it just teases and teases and teases and teases. And I think the thing about, hold your nose and jump, I just have to find a way to ignore it. Like music I don't like, just turn the station. Or, just there's got to be a way to nip that in the bud. And it doesn't happen as much. It doesn't happen certainly nearly as much as when I was first in business for myself. And the fears of that, like family fears of, got a good education so you can have a good job, you'll always have a job and that kind of
Hmm.
thing. So this isn't like that where there's a paycheck and
Yeah,
quote unquote security, and
right.
there's none of that. So I'm not as scared anymore about that part of being in business for myself. It's literally about the part about having it be messy, right? There's a lot of
Mm.
messy when you do these things, and
So what's wrong with messy?
yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, it's there's nothing wrong with messy. If I and it's just it's being on the inside, it's being behind the curtain. Like, when we're at the grocery store, we're in some version of our best selves. You know what I mean? It's like we're not nobody can see like what's going on inside our own house, right? But
Hmm.
then when I'm worrying about how I'm going to get something done, or how is it going to go, or what do I need to do, all of those things are like, well, I don't really know how to do that, and that's very confusing over there. I can focus on this, and so there's a lot of like sticking to the parts that you do know, and it's really really hard to understand that the things that got you to this point aren't going to get you to that point, and you're going to have to learn a whole bunch of new stuff all at once, and it's going to be complicated. And then you're on the other side of it. Yeah, that wasn't so hard. That worked out. But it's somehow that the beginning of it is always so hard for whatever reason. The beginning of it, it's always just ridiculously hard. So the middle is usually
Yeah.
not that.
No, once you start, but I think it's that fear voice saying it's not safe to step over to that what looks like there's no floor, but there is. It's
Yeah,
that first, right? That
the,
says,
the, the faith that it will all work
the
out.
mind is like protect, protect, protect.
Yeah.
So that's where I think the way you said, I need to not listen to it. I need to turn the station for a song I don't like. For me, I think it starts with naming the thing, and really not from the like I know better place, but the almost like the child like um just be as scared as you are, you know what I mean? Just allow yourself to say it, talk it out. Like, well, that's not safe because I might, if I reach too far, I might hurt myself or, whatever the thing is, and try to just go there, which is already really an act of courage, right? Because it's easier in some ways to be like, I feel scared, but I don't want to know why. Just keep talking, keep going. But first to name it with the whole fear voice. So for
Yeah.
me, it's often like when I ask what's wrong with messy, messy scares me because it might mean what? Uh, it might mean people will find out that I don't know everything. People will find out that something, I might be judged, I might lose people, I might look a certain something. Those kinds of, fill in blank. Does that
Yeah.
bring up
Oh,
anything
yeah.
for you?
I think it's absolutely. I think two things that, and I'm trying to, like, I don't think I could possibly do it in the moment, but like naming the fear is whatever it is, it's going to be, and I mean this with love to myself, it's going to be silly, whatever it is. We know that going in, you know what I
So
mean? It's going to
that's
be
what I
silly.
mean. Name the
Yeah.
silly, right? Like don't
Yeah.
judge it because it will never be able to say a different station, right? Like sing a different song to the song you don't want to hear until we address it head on.
Yeah.
Unpack
But
it.
the
I
other
sometimes I
thing,
say like take it out of the secret bag and put it on the table and just look at it.
yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And then the other thing that came to me is that idea of, when you're a kid, you're afraid of all kinds of stuff. The monster in the closet, that they tell you isn't there, but maybe the adults are wrong. So
Mhm.
you have these very childlike fears of things that in your whole experience you didn't experience once. It never actually hurt you. The monster in the closet that you think maybe is there never once got you. So you have no data to back up this idea or this
Mhm.
fear. And not any of the other children ever got hurt by the monster. You know what I mean? So there's
Right.
no data to back up that fear, and yet you still have it. But you still are able to. There's just this childlike peace that you can see it with the kids on the playground who don't really have their bodies move differently, and they don't have the same concept of gravity that we do. I mean, I'm hanging onto the railing as I go up and down the stairs, right? Those kids
Right.
are just jumping 3 and 4 at a time and not worried about breaking a leg, right? And
Right.
so I'm not saying we should do, we should respect what our bodies tell us as we get older, because you can't do those things anymore. It would
Right.
be it would be not intelligent to do those things anymore.
The
But
body
in
of
terms of,
today is not the body of yesterday.
yeah, it's not. It's not. You have to respect it differently. You have to respect your body. Your body changes after. If you have children, it's just not the same. It does not go back to the way it was, and that's okay.
Hmm.
There's just all
Hmm.
sorts of things that physically change, and you just need to have some understanding of what that is. Just
Hmm.
move with that understanding of what that is for whatever it is for each person. But the thing that I think we could, if there was a way to just buy a package of that childlike, you know, I don't even know what it's called. There are fears, but they don't ever really stop the kids. Those kids are, like well into middle school and maybe high school. They're going to be jumping down those steps 3 and 4 at a time, or they're going to be doing crazy or whatever.
Sorry, the internet is blipping a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
I was
But I
gonna
think
say
it's fun.
I think it's courage that they skip those steps because they did it before and they saw that they're okay and so they can skip again, maybe skip more, that there's a time in life where they're less afraid or almost like the programming is to find the edges.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like we don't. I think many of the adults that I know, we don't search for the edges anymore. We don't. we want to stay way back from the edge of the platform. You know what I mean? And maybe life tastes a little better, little bit, when we're not even thinking about it.
Yeah.
Maybe those things, maybe a lot of things. I have a Post-it note on the outside of my computer that says, "What would it look like if it was easy?" To remind myself.
Say that to myself all day
Yeah,
long.
yeah.
And of
What would
course,
it be
in
like
the
if it was
midst of
easy?
it, the brain
Yeah,
is like, but wait, but wait.
yeah, yeah. And so I'm
Yeah.
trying to same thing. It's like, just how do you it's when the focus gets on your logic brain, and it's about, I think it's about listening to your feelings. That idea about follow your gut, and my gut already knows how I want to do these things, and you
Yeah.
know
Just like you
maybe even
knew.
how to start. You just got to do it. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. You've known, you've heard it before and you knew, and that muscle knows you can do it again. It's been good. The other side of it that I love to insert, along with the safety not guaranteed side, is you can try things and you can always untry them. You know what I mean? You can always pivot, and you can be trusted to know what to do no matter what
mm-hmm.
happens, right?
Yeah.
Because you've also seen yourself be that person to be like, oh, thanks, got it. Now we do this, right? But like,
Yeah, no, just treat it all like an experiment and not be really invested in the. I agree, and that's easier said than done, especially if I spent a lot of time in another career worrying about data and looking for evidence and looking for patterns and things like that. So it's kind of a good habit in one sense, because it was an
right.
interesting job, and it's kind of not serving me that well over here.
Yes,
But
exactly. But that's the thing, right? I mean, work world hypnosis says like critique, criticize, like the critical mind. Yes, and
yeah,
when you're the whole company, you can't only be the critic muscle, hammer, one tool, right? You
exactly.
can't. It just doesn't, and it doesn't serve you. You have to be all the tools. You have to be the self-trusting forward motion person,
Yeah,
maybe
and the
more
one
than you
who
need that critic tool to hammer all
absolutely,
day long.
absolutely. And then the other thing, this is just gonna, like, I'm old, but this is when I used to quote this movie a whole lot, original Terminator. In the very beginning, before all the action happens, she's a waitress, and the kid puts an ice cream cone in her apron, and she just looks like right at the, it's not a good
Yeah,
day. And the
yeah.
other waitress walks by cracking gum, and she goes, "In 100 years, who's gonna care?" And I think that's hilarious. That, like,
Oh, good
I quote that
one.
in my head all the time. In 100 years, who's gonna care? So I have to remind myself of that. In
Yeah.
100 years, who's going to care? Now I'm going to
Well,
go watch
that's
that movie.
true. Yeah. It's true about the messy, especially, right? Because I mean, I might forget my own messy in, well,
Not
100
100
years,
years.
but you
100
know what I
minutes.
mean? Like
Yeah,
even in a few years I'll forget. But
yeah,
where you will be is not in that mess, right? I
yeah,
mean, in some ways it's impossible to stay in that mess if you just
yeah,
keep going, keep trying, keep trusting yourself, keeping one more step at a time.
yeah. And just not mess. Mess is fine. Mess means things are changing. Mess is, and just reevaluating it. Just recategorizing it and calling it something different. The judgment is real. We learn these
Yeah.
things, and they're hard to unlearn. They're hard to recharacterize.
Yeah.
But we can do it. I can do it. It's just,
Just have a heart.
I want to get to the point where it's just effortless, where that thought comes in and I'm like, nope, stop at the door. Like I have a bouncer, you know.
Yes, so
Stop at
good.
the door.
And that the bouncer would be from your self belief, not from the fear.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, as usual, I say it's a half hour conversation and then an hour goes by because it's just so freaking delightful what we're
It is.
talking
You're brilliant.
about.
You have the
Some
insights. You
brain
have all your,
training.
yeah.
Sorry, say it again.
Oh no, it's you say a half hour because you're brilliant and you have all the insights, and you share, and it's like, tell me more. So
You have all the insights too. I wanted to take notes the whole time. So, I'm gonna have to re-listen to this again because a lot of what you said was really deeply powerful for me too, which is why I love
um,
this podcast. I love just having time with you and all the people I've talked with. It just is so powerful, the power of just conversation,
No, I
getting
really, I
things
really
out of
enjoyed
our
watching it.
heads.
It's awesome.
Thanks so much. So, how would you like people to find you and reach out? Is there a particular thing you're calling people into right now?
So I'm opening the studio for one-on-ones again.
Good.
And I have quite a few clients who are looking to do duets. And so I'm trying to find people who are interested in doing two, not a private session, but two people at a time. So
Okay.
if you are looking, and I like that because it's a little bit more affordable. You know,
Yeah.
you're still getting individualized attention, and uh, the session will still be tailored to the two people's goals, even if they're different, right? The
Amazing.
trick is that, you know, you want to, each person will do the same exercise with slightly different cueing, for example, and we'll choose exercise
Amazing.
that will suit both people. And that's a little, to me, that's a step, like a little more attention than a group class,
Yeah.
but not at the, it's a little more affordable than single sessions. So if that sounds like something anyone out there would be interested in, there's a link in my bio and my website and my phone number. You can just search for my name, and as far as I know, I'm the only Rie Langdon Pilates in the
Yeah.
universe at this point. So you'll
And
come
your
right to me.
URL too, right, is repilates.com, so they could find out
RiePilates.com.
more there.
Yeah.
So, in-person studio, where are you located? So it has to be
I'm
people
in
who
San
are
Francisco.
able to
Yeah.
get their bodies to you.
Yeah, I'm in San Francisco, and I'm in the southern part of the city, near the Ocean Avenue exit. So it's south part of San Francisco, a little quiet neighborhood that I love. And I also am teaching still online. I have clients as far away as London
Nice.
and South America and New York. So
Amazing.
and that's the other. I should put that in one of the joys. I get to have these little glimpses of life in other places because my clients have gone far and wide during the pandemic. So that's another little thing. And it's made me go, maybe I need to figure that out for my own self, how to go far and wide with this. So we'll see.
That's what's
But
available up
yeah,
to all the Zoom life, which actually it's kind of like what you said earlier, the now that you're not only in person, what's possible with what's the now
yeah,
operation. You
yeah,
get to follow your joy,
I do.
tuition. So
Mm.
exciting.
One
Thank you
more
so
little note.
much. Yeah.
Absolutely. I just want to share that one of the things that I work with people one-on-one is people with Ehlers-Danlos or other connective tissue disorders, people who are the way this is described is usually double jointed or the bendy people, and their bodies
Mm,
move slightly differently than the typical person. They move from their joints instead of their muscles. And it's alert. I work particularly with those people to help them use their muscles, which is not their go-to, instead of their joints, and it helps them be more stable and relieve pain. So those are the other people that I think I can really serve, and I love to serve. But that runs in my family, and so I have a lot of personal awareness around that. Although, if you have the typical body, I love to work with you too. But anyway, you were
good.
saying such a nice thing, and I totally interrupted you. So
No. It's perfect. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that it's great for to call in specific people to say
yes,
what's your superpower, right? Because not everybody does that. Not everybody even recognizes bendy people, right? So that's great. Um, I wanted to ask, how would I know if I'm a bendy person? Is there a quick
so yeah,
assessment,
sometimes
self-assessment?
it can be diagnosed if you know what EDS is or Ehlers-Danlos and you've had that diagnosis. But for most people, it's you're the kind of person who you might sprain your ankle a lot, or you have a knee that goes, your knees are a little wobbly, or it can be a little bit when you get up out of a chair, you kind of have to get into a little equilibrium before you're ready to move.
Mm,
Or it can be where your fingers bend or your elbows hyperextend. Many people who have that hyperextending knee or that hyperextending elbow
Mm,
have underlying stuff, and their collagen just works differently than
mm,
other people. It's genetic, like eye color and hair color and stuff like that. So
mm-hmm.
um, if the good news is that you can learn to use the muscles, and it feels better in your body when you do.
Okay. I do have that elbow and probably knee thing. That's
Ah,
I wondered about that. So maybe I come see you, Ocean
I would love
Avenue.
that. I would love that.
Thank you so much for your time and everyone who joined us. It's just is I love doing these conversations live. I feel like, oh, people really are here and they need to hear what we're talking about. Because I
Absolutely.
mean, what we talked about, I think is just balm for what many people are going through right now. So thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.